Hello and welcome to Healing Tips from the Heart, Intuition with Helpers, Healers, and Guides. I am your host, Dr. Lori Hops, licensed psychologist, writer, and artist. I've explored mind, body, and spirit related to intuition, or your personal guidance system, since early childhood. Meet my guests who have learned from their personal and professional lives to explore vast realms of knowing, synchronicities, and overcoming challenges. Their stories may inspire you with tools to enhance your daily living and relationships. Hello and welcome my special guest today, Jamie Lee Silver. Jamie Lee Silver is the creator of the Silver Lining System, where she offers clinical emotional freedom technique tapping and matrix energetic sessions to people suffering from all kinds of loss. She discovered EFT shortly before her son tragically took his life at the age of 22. For Jamie, grieving her son felt like standing on the top of a vortex that she could very easily fall down and never emerge from. Thankfully, tapping saved her life, and now she is committed to helping many others who are grieving, removing them from the vortex if possible, so that they can move from pain to purpose. And I'm so grateful on this very special day to welcome you, Jamie, and let people know that I met you through the Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology, and it's just lovely to have you. So welcome today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Lori.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share, maybe from your bio that I didn't mention, or something about today?
Well, as I was listening to the intro, I want everyone who's listening, who's not already turned us off because of the subject matter, to know that my life is joyful right now. And this is not going to be going down the path of pain, which it would never be with Lori anyway. But I'm really here to share my joy and to share the possibility and actually even the magic that comes out of having had this kind of transformational experience that I've had with my dear son, Ben.
I'm so glad you bring him in. So hello, Ben.
Hi,
And thank you for that message of hope. I think it's so hard to imagine anything beyond the pain. If people can relate to this, they're going through something recently or maybe from a long time ago, or they're worried that this can happen. They're worried about themselves or someone else. It's so hard to relate to joyfulness and love and so on, because it sounds like a fantasy.
Yeah.
And I know it's not because you've sidestepped the pain.
No, it is not. What do they call it? Spiritual sidestep.
Bypass.
Yeah, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's the embrace of all the emotions.
Okay.
And the loving of all the emotions. And I'm such a huge believer in EFT and matrix that, of course, I have my own individuals who have helped me as I help others. And I think a lot of you who are listening may relate to that as well.
Okay. Yes. It's like a chain of love that continues. So could you talk, for those who don't know, maybe just briefly what EFT and matrix reimprinting are?
Sure. Oh, I discovered EFT right before Ben got sick. And it was through Nick and Jessica Ortner, of course, and I really resonated with it, especially when I found myself tapping that I love and accept myself, because that was the words that they used. And I found myself crying. And I realized that this could be, and indeed it was, the bridge from intellectually wanting to love myself and knowing it's a good thing to actually loving myself.
Mm.
It
Wow.
is so profound. It can do even that.
Yeah, there's something about crossing down into the body, not just staying in the hope and the words and the emotion, but to get that physicality somehow, it releases or enters some space that previously there had been a barrier.
Well said. That's
Mm.
exactly, Louise Hay said loving yourself is the most important thing you can ever do. She also said that the most important modality to come along in her lifetime was EFT tapping.
Okay. Now, how is that similar or different from matrix re-imprinting for those who don't know?
EFT tapping is in the here and now, tapping on energies and emotions that you feel regarding something that may have happened in the past, may be happening now, or may happen in the future. It's amazing. Matrix re-imprinting uses EFT tapping. However, you visit times in your life that you still remember with emotion, and you visit who you were then and stay separate from them. So I have tapped on Jamie at certain moments in her life, staying separate and giving her relief, giving her hope, showing her that things turned out and how they turned out, and also visiting Jamie in the future
Mm.
in this amazing way that you feel like, okay, this is what I want. Do I have any resistance in my body to actually achieving that? And then being able to tap on that, it's just amazingly deep and profound work
Thank
and
you for,
fun.
oh, and fun. That's good. Yeah, because often we find that, you're in that, like you said, the vortex, the hole, the deepness, the intensity. And when you release, when you're able to open that a bit and let some of that go, there's this lightness, this joyfulness, this spontaneity. Suddenly things are easier. You come up with solutions you'd never thought of. Your natural wisdom returns, or your connection to it that's been there all along, creativity. And so it can be really fun. It can be funny too. It's like you get your sense of humor back. There's just so much that can,
Exactly.
and it happens like in a moment. So for those who don't know, the Chinese medicine system talks about energy flows, channels of energy in the body that follow different pathways. And that's the basis of using the needles for acupuncture, but you can also use acupressure or tapping at the end points of various meridians under the eye, under the nose, under the lip, the collarbones, the top of the head, and so on. And so this is what we're meaning by tapping, is that you're actually holding, massaging, or gently tapping on these various points while you're thinking about and saying things that are connected to a point, usually of conflict, tension, um, distress, but it can be aspirational, like I'm winning the race at the Olympics. So you can put yourself into positive things too. But yeah, so beautiful. So how can you tell a little bit more about your story? Because I think people will want to hear the specifics.
The specifics. So I was lucky enough to have two amazing Buddha boys, Aaron and Ben. And being a mom, it was just my absolute favorite thing I'd ever done. I immediately fell head over heels with these two beings and loved playing with them, loved everything about being a mom. And except the fear of what, like, of loss of some kind, which anybody who's a mom out there knows what I'm talking about. And so my Aaron is just this amazingly incredible leader and physician. And he lives in Portland, and we're very, very close. And his younger brother, Ben, was, for one thing, he was short. He was only 5'3". He was a little guy. And he needed to establish himself and his identity. And he found that through running, because he was able to push his body way beyond what it was, I want to say, actually capable of doing, because I would see him running against these. He ran distance track and distance cross country, and he would be running, and he's here, and the guys he's running against have legs that are this much longer than him, and he's holding his own and doing great. And in high school, he broke all these records, and oh my God, what a fun ride we had. And he wanted a full scholarship to college. And my singer, songwriter, and poet son got a full ride to scholarship, but somehow, Lori, by the time he got to college, it was like his body just said, I'm not doing this anymore. And something was wrong with his ankle. They could never quite figure out why. So he's the self-proclaimed shortest guy on campus. And this campus didn't have a student center, so he couldn't even like go play guitar. And his other outlets weren't really there for him. And he started breaking down mentally. And we watched it happen. And it was then a series of 2.5 years of multiple attempts at his life, eventually schizophrenia, and this fear that he was going to be caught and it wasn't going to end well for him. And it was actually 9 years ago tomorrow, because tomorrow is what I call Ben Day. And I have various ways of honoring, celebrating, mourning his life on Ben Day. And at that moment, there was this huge, enormous scream in my head, like, no, like this can't be possible. Really, like this unreality of the time. And I did picture this hole that I could have gone down. And not only that, I saw other people going down that hole around me when I joined groups to talk about it. But I had this edge, Lori. I had two edges. And one was EFT tapping, and the other was being a practicing Buddhist for all those years. I was 35 years into chanting to raise my vibrations, so the vibration of the planet would also be raised. And I knew that maybe Ben's body wasn't around, but that the love that we shared, that it was impossible for it to go anywhere. It had to still be there. And this is a huge part of my message and something that I share because it helped me so much. And I help my clients with this. And we printed our first book. This is Ben.
Beautiful.
Just wanted to leave the invite there. And this is called Our Forever Ben, because he's not just mine. He's all of ours. And this is our first year of poetry together after he became my angel. And he writes through my hand when I write to him. And that is how I saw people suffering around me in a way that I knew that because I write to Ben and he writes back to me, I wasn't. So it really became my mission at that point to help people through EFT tapping and through the knowledge that your loved one is right there.
Wow, what an incredible story. I mean, you've had so many times when you could have turned back, getting the diagnosis, seeing him slipping in college, the suicide attempts, finally upon his death, like any one of those could have just flattened you,
Yeah.
even with Buddhist training, even with,
Yeah.
EFT tapping or whatever it is that people, so there must be something even more to have pulled you through that. Maybe the love with him.
Yeah. Yeah. In his writing to me, he explains that this was a contract, a life contract, and that we have been everything to each other.
Mm.
I've been his mother. He's been in different lifetimes. He's been my mother, like this solid core. And he has me picture it like this,
Mm-hmm.
us being together, that's
Mm-hmm.
unbreakable and unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
And that even if he gets reborn wherever throughout the universe, that core is going to still be with me because it always has been.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
those words just
Oh,
bring me so much comfort.
yes. Yeah. I mean, we just long for the physicality to touch them, to look in their eyes again, to hear their voice. And so to know that they've become part of everything or whatever it is you believe, but that they can still touch you through your heart. And for you through the writing. Now, had you done this kind of writing before he passed?
I had lost someone previously that his spirit was so loud and boisterous, he just had to come through my pen. There was a previous loss,
Yeah.
and so I knew that it was possible.
Okay. That was like your warm up
I had a warm up.
to open the channel for the communication to know it was possible. Yeah. I have also done that kind of writing with others and myself and, looking through time and space and all the rest and creative work. In fact, there's a piece of writing that was in an art notebook that I'd forgotten about that I'd
Mm.
ever even done. I have all these notebooks all over the house, but it was in an art notebook. And it's because I brought the art notebook on a trip I went to. And I did a little bit of writing and I never took it out. I don't think I ever looked at it again, maybe once.
Yeah.
And I just found it the other day. And so I
Wow.
have it here. And so I
Oh,
would love to share it because it's
please
very
do.
much your story. I think it's a lot of
Yes.
people's stories.
Yes.
So, but I want to hear your writing too. So, but
Yeah.
I just wanted you to know in terms of synchronicity and listening to the call and having writing, for those who have never written this way and are curious to try, do you have any tips about how to go about it?
In I do lead workshops in this, and in this, there I find that there can be some emotional barriers to doing it.
Yeah.
And the more clear you are, the more like Ben did this, but the instant that it happened, I forgave him. There wasn't any like, how could you do this to your mother? Because I really understood
Mm.
where he was at. And what I do is I pour out my love for the person in writing. And then in my first letter to him, I I call it an invocation. I said, Ben, write through me,
Mm.
laugh through me, live your happiness all around me. I know you never meant to hurt me.
Mm.
Not maybe you're sitting next to me at the pool right now. What
Mm.
do you have to say? And I just kept my pen on the paper and he wrote, Mom, I meant to do it. I had to do it. It had to happen. And you will live a life of meaning of
Mm.
warmth and creativity. Together we will live on. Together we
Wow.
will always live on.
Wow. How profound. How beautiful.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that obviously if you're holding resentment, blame, anger, or fear, or anything like that, it's going to cloud the waters and you're not going to have as clear an ability to connect. It's like a
Yes.
clogged drain or
Yeah.
plumbing.
And EFT can really help that.
But then once you clear that away, or if it's not there already,
Yeah.
for you, you just asked, you set it out as a purpose to please come and speak
Yeah.
through you
That
and
was
share.
pretty clear. Yeah.
So that's great. Yeah, I know that when I was trying to do this, because I wasn't sure how, and I practiced often for years, I was like, well, where do I sit? Do I use a special pen? Is it better to speak into a recorder or to type? Or and so I tried all of those different things. I tried writing with my non-dominant hand. Like it took me a long time to kind of like find my way. So it's kind of interesting. And then when you get the hang of it, it doesn't quite matter. You can be anywhere.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And I think both Lori and I would say we're here as guides. If you need some guidance in this, and I'm overjoyed
Yeah.
to be able to help.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes. Yeah, we each teach and lead in different ways, but overlapping in a lot of ways
Yes.
with my
Yeah.
embodied intuition and getting into the body for me and but the writing is part of it. In fact, I'm going to be teaching a workshop at Eden Energy Fest in September, which is when this launches this podcast today, will have already been in the past, but writing is going to be part of the component of freer intuition work that I'm doing at that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So, is there something special maybe from the book that you would want to share or?
What I'd like to share,
Mhm.
I just shared. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome.
What I'd like to share is the book is Ben's first words to me about what the experience of being non-physical was all about. And I would look at the birds and say, Ben, I see you in that bird. And then I'd look at another bird and go, Ben, I see you in that bird too. And he explained to me he can be everywhere
Yes.
all at once. But I want to share what he wrote to me. This was yesterday morning.
Oh, okay.
As
It's fresh.
it's fresh.
Unpublished, having its debut premiere.
Exactly. It's premiere. No one has heard this yet. It'll be in our next book, which is about teaching you how to do this, that
Oh.
he and I are writing right now and open to finding collaborations and a publisher who is intrigued by this notion. So I wrote him and I said, my dear Ben, are you still here? Soon I'll be in my 10th year without you. And just I said, has it been everything you'd hoped for? Do you live in the peace that surpasses all understanding? As I sit here and my body suddenly filled with heat, I said, what do you have to say to your mommy who loves you so much? And he said, oh, Mom, calm your heart, calm your body, calm your soul. Relax into the beauty of what is. Tomorrow's not yet here. You live in paradise. Go and dance. Remember, I'm here in everything. I'm here in the gentle breeze loving your body. I'm here in the rippling water reflected on your neighbor's white dock. I'm here in the trees and the pelicans, the clouds in the sky. I'm in the breath of your lungs and the shorebirds who fly. Lit up by the sun, and the yappy green parrots who have so much to say. Their squawk is just, I'm hearing the seagull playing in the stillness of the air. And when you close your eyes, I'm right there. I'm right here. I'm always right here. And I adore, adore, adore you. Adore is a verb, and I'll always be here. The worst thing that can happen brought transformation to you, to me, to your clients, to the Ben's Memorial Mile community. Go take a swim. I'll still be right here.
Oh, I love it. Go take a swim. I'll still be right here. What was it like for you to receive that message yesterday?
So
I may
joyous,
ask.
so joyous. I'm like, I know. And I'm all about being present. And he's all about it too.
Yeah. And it's easy to get a little sidetracked. Like you said, the date and the 9 years and 10 years, and we're counting, and a decade means something. And, it's such a good reminder of like, I'm here. There is like, don't worry so much about time. Let that not be the marker so much, but the presence and the parrots that have so much to say. Yeah.
The first year I had moved to Florida for the anniversary. I got here June 30th of the year after he became my angel. And I was going to pray all day. I was going to chant all day with my friend Kate in California. We were just, and I wrote to him and he said, Mom, tomorrow's just like any other day. He said, instead of doing that, why don't you go do something fun? And I ended up going to see The Light in the Piazza, which was a play that was just like every moment of it was ecstasy. And so I usually on the anniversary day, I like to incorporate something. I see it as a time to celebrate the fact that I had him.
Yes.
For 22 years.
Yes. Which is an auspicious number in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And my favorite number, I was born on a 22.
Okay.
And it's always been my favorite. And that's also why I talk about being the grief to gratitude guide.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I think of him, my heart just overflows with gratitude. I could have not had that child.
Right. Or that experience.
Or that experience, right?
Or it could have come out in a different way, but it happened the way someone said, how do you know that like you're in the right place at the right time? And it's like, and someone said, because you are here doing this. That's how you know it's right, is because it's happening. And I was like, oh, that kind of like quiets all that mind chatter of second guessing and so on.
That's very profound. I love it. I'll remember that.
That's actually in the poem that I wrote.
I want to hear
Is
it.
it okay if I share? And then I want to
Yes,
hear more.
please do.
Yeah, and then I want to hear more about that you mentioned the Memorial Mile. So, okay, this is called, well, I called it Blue Light Special. I wrote this in 2018. In the quiet, in the night, after the blue light shines on your shoulders, you sigh. Another sign you're fine. No way to know before that this was the right turn, right place, until you arrive and smile. It's all fine. Before it was loud and twisted and hard. But you couldn't see you were untangling the chain of pain from before. Every time you tensed and jerked and fought with tears, you were tearing away the tension and melting the congestion with your angry ways. It was a souffle of pain meant to clarify the clots of confusion. Now, that the calm has settled in, that the stars shine, reflected on the still dark waters. You can see your soul deep, deep in the expanse below. No echo here, just clear, cool, fresh. Openness to create once again. What will you make now with this new clay? Another day.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, it weaves in with what you were sharing.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's been put away for 6 years without me even remembering. But here it came in an art notebook because I was doing some artwork and I found an old notebook and opened it up and there it was.
What perfect timing.
Yeah. So you mentioned the Memorial Mile. Can you share some about that? Because what a way to create that love in community.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So about a month after it happened, like Ben was the fulcrum of this running community in Downers, Illinois. And so was every other student. And so was the coach, all the runners, all the parents. It was an incredible experience of a loving community. And they came to me. This was not my idea. And said, we need to do something. We
Mhm.
need to do something. And then every week over the next year, we hammered out what it was going to be. And it was going to be Ben's Memorial Mile. And there are various miles. There's like a mile for the elites because they don't run the same. And then there's the mile for the people who are this time and that time. There's a walking mile.
Mhm.
And it was set to be done on Ben's high school track.
Oh, okay.
So, and I don't live there anymore, but we all go back so it's also like a reunion of sorts. We all come back together and honor Ben's memory and run and have fun. And Ben had a buoyant energy. He was until he got sick. For the most part, he was a very happy guy. He loved to make people laugh and he had great comic. He was funny as all get out. And so we come together for Ben's Memorial Mile and hearing the announcer and the kids running and the announcer is Coop, the coach. And, once you finish a high school sport like running, if you don't run in college, you don't get that experience of running under the lights with your name being mentioned and everybody cheering for you. So we wanted to recreate that. And we did. And we've raised $150,000 so far. And it's gone in mostly two spaces. And one is to direct brain research for schizophrenia.
Mhm.
And the other is to the National Alliance of Mental Illness. While they could not solve the problem that was going on, they gave us some comfort in the
Yeah.
peer-to-peer support groups that we took part in. So
Mm.
wonderful event. This year is a little different because the track is getting redone. So
Oh.
we couldn't have the track this year.
Uh-huh.
bensmemorialmile.com, and you'll see films of Ben and films of the mile and get introduced to Aaron, his brother.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'll have that all in the program notes along with all your contact information, your book, and all the rest. So thank you. What a beautiful thing that you didn't just say, "Oh, no. I just lost my son. Like I can't create a charity event." But that you did say yes, and that they came to you, and that the community wanted to connect and keep his memory alive
Yeah.
and help other people is a beautiful thing. So is that going to be tomorrow?
That's going to be the 10th of August.
Okay.
the 10th of August. And
Lovely.
then the following year, when you hear this,
Yeah.
we'll have already planned what the following year is. And maybe we could include that in the liner notes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just let me know and I'll add it in. Oh, that's so great. Oh my goodness. And I'm sure you've had some incredible synchronous stories that happened since then with this.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had the most wonderful life celebration for him.
Mm-hmm.
My goal was to get all the stories that I didn't know about my son and to hear them all. And so it was basically a microphone set up for everybody to come and
Ah.
talk and give their stories. And they all did. And a couple just stuck in my mind. And one was this young man who, a beautiful young man who had some struggles, but Ben was always like, he wanted everyone to feel included. He was a very kind person. And one time he was running in a race and this young man was behind him and Ben slowed down and put out his hand.
Mm.
And this young man, like, it changed his life.
Oh,
He'll never forget it.
wow. An act of generosity.
Yeah, yeah, one of many stories about Ben. And that's an inspiring story that can touch people's hearts into more generosity and recognizing it. And I just think it's beautiful.
It's overlooked, but so sometimes so easy to be nice,
Yeah,
and it makes a difference.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, I'm sure you've been blessed to hear stories from people that say, years ago you did da 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 da, and it really helped me. I was having a terrible time, or that was so kind of you. And you may not even remember having done it. And I'm like, oh, glad it worked for you. But it's like I never
Exactly.
forgot. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why there's something that's looming that I'm very interested in, looming in a good way. And that is this notion of having life celebrations while people are still alive.
Yeah.
And we did this for my friend Kate. And, when we did it for my mom, she was not still alive. And I was like, we should have done this. So I'm very intrigued by this and seeing what part I might be able to play in helping people formulate these types of ceremonies for people who are still alive and can hear those words.
It's beautiful, and the things that come up, and yeah, that's so sweet. It's beautiful.
I'm thinking maybe it could be a rite of passage, say when people turn 65 or when people turn 70, if they're already 65 or something, that it's just kind of expected. So it's not like this one person going, come talk about me, but it's
Yeah,
like a ritual that we can build into
like
our
an
life.
elder passage, because we
An
have all the,
elder passage. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if that's a term that's been coined, but elder passage sounds kind of interesting
I
because
love
we
it.
have these different age rites, but usually in youth.
Yeah.
And we have a death rituals, but not elder passage. Yeah. Well,
Oh,
as women, let's say, go through menopause. I mean, there are
yeah.
in different cultures, there's times to mark, um, you know, these changes. But yeah, to hear the good stories, and to not have to wait. We celebrate people like by giving them awards or, having special birthday or when they retire, or, commemorations, but not just because we love you. And hearing,
Yeah.
yeah, that's lovely.
I think the
Mhm.
name for it is Living Life Celebration.
Oh, nice. Living life celebration. Well, you heard it here, folks.
There you go.
Go
That's
out and
right.
make it happen. Yeah. We're coming to the end of our time, but I'm wondering, is there anything else you'd like to share that's come to mind
Yeah.
about helpers, healers, and guides, or intuition, or something from the heart?
One of my main things right now is to let people know if you're if you're carrying a heavy heart from a loss, I believe that in our culture right now that is, emotion avoidant and grieving avoidant and all those things, there's 2 points I want to make. And one is that making appointments with yourself to mourn and to let those feelings out to another person or in your writing, and to recognize the loss and not sugarcoat it and say it didn't happen, is a gift that you give yourself. It's like a treasure box that you can open when you want to open it. I've done that with several losses, and basically made a date with myself to go to Morton Arboretum and put my blanket out, listen to the music that I shared with that person, and just let it out.
Mm.
That these can be healing for us, and that there is also this belief that, and it's okay if you believe this. I don't want to change anybody's mind, but that somehow that feeling the loss today of whatever the loss was, that it's somehow expected, and that if you somehow got rid of this intense emotion, that you wouldn't be being loyal to that person, or that you would lose some of who you are.
Yeah.
And I want to say that the opposite can be true, that you can reunite with them in joy and feel total and complete joy. And whatever words we want to come up with for this, that it is possible and it is okay to live your life in joy.
No, to give yourself that permission that it's not a betrayal to their memory.
Right.
If anything, you're saying there's an invitation to join them. They're like sitting there going, come on, when are you going to show up? And you're like, oh, I'm lamenting the loss. And they're like, okay, well, we could be having some fun here. So like, I love you and I get it, but actually like, come here.
I'm right here at the end of your pen, or I'm right here
At the end of your tears, or at the end of your guilt.
Yeah. Oh, and thank you for bringing that up, because one of the other things that through this work of EFT tapping, through this healing work, is really the healing of the what ifs, the if I onlys, that the guilt, especially of a parent who loses a child.
Yeah.
And also someone to that has taken their own life.
Yes.
Like, what if I could have, if only I didn't do that thing that one day, or if I'd found the better doctor, like, I realized that each one of these were like a little flag showing in my life that needed to be healed. And
Okay.
that's how I viewed them,
Mm-hmm.
and have worked on them with EFT tapping and matrix. And it's possible and wonderful to be able to heal these intense feelings.
Beautiful. Yeah, I see them as like breadcrumbs on grandmother's trail,
Yes.
getting back to, we're going to leave the bread trail in the forest, and that instead of these things being boulders and obstacles in the way, they're actually the breadcrumbs that you follow.
That's the way to look at it,
Yeah.
right? But I remember, like, after my mom died, waking up in the middle of the night going, should I have, was this and that did literally go on for years, until I really was just like, okay, I'm going to take that flag. I'm going to go to the top of the hill. I'm going to take that flag and I'm going to do that healing,
Yeah.
and I did. So,
And then there's life after that too.
yeah.
And it comes back, I'm sure you reflect again, and then that's just more reason, more invitation to get to another layer. Oh,
It
those are such
so well.
wise words. Oh, thank you so much for not staying in the vortex.
Thank you, Ben.
Yes. And finding your way out and bringing so much light and hope. And I can feel that there's people who are taking a deep sigh right now, that they're going to think or move or act in a little bit different way, or that they have a different perspective now. So thank you for sharing your story.
That's why we're here, right? We're here
Yes.
for you. We're here for you who are listening right now.
Yep. Yes. And thank you, Ben.
Ben, that little imp of a guy. Thank
Um,
you, Ben. And please reach out if you just want to talk further.
yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for today's podcast. If you want to learn more, you can visit my website for podcast and resources at hopshealingtips.com. You can also like, share, and subscribe to this channel. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and is not providing healthcare advice. Please seek guidance from your professional healthcare team should you need assistance.